is a good evening, isn't it? It's nice to have a break from the rain and some clear blue skies. Yeah, thanks for that. So welcome to the observance of the United Nations International Day of Peace. This is the 30th International Observance of this day. The UN General Assembly established the Day of Peace in 1981, inviting nations and people to observe the day of nonviolence and ceasefire with education and public awareness activities on issues related to peace. Oak Ridge Girl Scouts organized the first Day of Peace event here in 2015 around the International Friendship Bell and have continued to lead this observance each year since then. Tonight, they have provided peace activities for children, and they are donating rocks with peace designs to be taken home by participants here tonight. You can see those rocks just to my left. It is appropriate that we gather for this observance beside the International Friendship Bell and surrounded by this beautiful Peace Pavilion, which we dedicated 3 years ago this week. We recognize that the bell and the pavilion are iconic for Oak Ridge. We have an exceptional history, and now this exceptional monument that is part of the Manhattan Project National Historical Park. Oak Ridge has been known as the Secret City and the Science City, and perhaps may become known as a City of Peace. This year, we welcome the participation and support of the Oak Ridge Civic Music Association and the Oak Ridge Symphony Orchestra, adding a new musical element to this annual event. We're grateful for the involvement of Lisa Musi Eckhoff, who's the Executive Director of ORCMA, and Dan Alcott, Conductor and Music Director of the orchestra, in planning this event. We offer thanks to the City of Oak Ridge for its support of this event, as well as to the Oak Ridge Breakfast Rotary Club and its foundation for their support. Thanks also for the support of this event from the Oak Ridge Fund for Achieving Community Excellence. And we owe a debt of gratitude to Pat Postma, who co-chaired with me a few years ago the International Friendship Bell Citizens Advisory Committee. We thank her for her leadership in planning this event. Unfortunate circumstances have prevented Pat from attending this evening, but we're grateful for her tireless and passionate service to our community and dedication to the promotion of peaceful relations. At this time, we have a special presentation to make. Mayor Warren Gooch has prepared a mayor's proclamation to honor an Oak Ridge resident who has been dedicated to forging international friendships and working for the cause of peace throughout her life. The mayor is out of town and sends his regrets that he cannot be here to present this proclamation to Shigeko Uppuluri. She and her late husband, Ram, proposed the Friendship Bell for Oak Ridge's 50th anniversary in the early 1990s and ensured the bell was cast in Japan and delivered to Oak Ridge. Shigeko and her son, Ram, then worked tirelessly on the effort to create a new peace pavilion to house the Friendship Bell. I hope all of us will reflect on the words of this proclamation that I will now read. Whereas the International Day of Peace is observed around the world each year on this day and provides a globally shared date for all humanity to commit to peace above all differences and contribute to building a culture of peace. And whereas no one embodies a commitment to a culture of peace, love, and understanding more than Shigeko Uppuluri. And whereas Shigeko Uppuluri lived her early years with her family in Shanghai, Tokyo, and Kyoto, and in the late 1950s received a scholarship for graduate work at the University of Indiana, where she met her husband, Ram Uppuluri, a native of India. And whereas Shigeko has been an ambassador and mentor to countless Oak Ridgers, as well as to Japanese and other international visitors. And whereas this quiet dynamo influenced international understanding through her work with such diverse organizations as the Girl Scouts, the Children's Museum, Oak Ridge Schools, the League of Women Voters and Women's Interfaith Dialogue, and understanding the challenges of life in another country. Shigeko was instrumental in establishing a program at the YWCA to welcome and mentor families from other countries by helping with language, doctor's visits, shopping, or children in school. And whereas at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, Shigeko served as a translator and teacher of language and culture to scientists traveling to Japan, and as Tennessee became host to Japanese companies establishing auto-related businesses, she extended her mentoring and outreach to helping these guests adapt to their new home. And whereas when the 50th anniversary of Oak Ridge was planned in 1992, Shigeko and Rom proposed their idea for the International Friendship Bell to commemorate the event and chose the theme, Born of War, Living for Peace, Growing Through Science. They, along with Oak Ridge scientists, led successful efforts to raise the funds locally and in Japan and arranged for the bell to be cast by a master bell maker in Kyoto and transported to the United States by the Honda Company. And whereas Shigeko founded the Oak Ridge Sister City organization in 1991 and for the last 30 years has worked tirelessly to prepare Oak Ridge middle school students and teachers for the exchange with Naka middle school students and to prepare Oak Ridge families for their Naka visitors. And whereas when the original structure housing the Friendship Bell deteriorated, Shigeko worked tirelessly as a member of the International Friendship Bell Citizens Advisory Committee, along with her son Rom, on creating and raising funds for the beautiful new Peace Pavilion, the Bell's home since 2018. And whereas on this United Nations International Day of Peace, we express gratitude to a quiet and profound woman who has shaped this iconic place, the International Friendship Bell Peace Pavilion, where we come together today. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Warren L. Gooch, Mayor of the City of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, that in recognition of her lifelong commitment to peace and her contributions to the Oak Ridge community, hereby honor Shigeko Uppuluri and proclaim our gratitude to her for making Oak Ridge and the world a better place through her spirit of international friendship and understanding. Please join me in welcoming Shigeko Uppuluri. Thank you, and it's a great honor. I hope we will all reflect on the words of that proclamation and Shigeko's example for all of us. We have one additional presentation, and this time I'm going to call on Ellen Smith and Jim Dodson, members of the Oak Ridge City Council, to make one more presentation on behalf of Mayor Gooch.
Shigeko, you are a treasure to this city. Your love through the community, and all we can give you really is words. But I have a special token to present to you of our appreciation to you as a civic treasure of Oak Ridge. This is a key to the city of Oak Ridge, symbolic of everything that we feel.
I think Ellen Smith said it nicely. We have a debt of gratitude to you, Shigeko, for your example of peace and peace in the world. So thank you so much for everything that you've done for the city of Oak Ridge.
Well, I am overwhelmed. What have I done? You know, what have I done? In this, this is my town. I live here, and I love this town. I brought up my family. There is one example here, and he has grown up to be a very nice man. And I have so many, many, many friends in Oak Ridge. My neighbor, my friends, so many of them. This is the town I live, and this is going to be my last life. I live in this life, in this town. And I'm so happy that I'm going to end up in this town, and I want to stay here. It's been so many years since I just landed in this town after I finished my college in Indiana with my husband, and then this army was a little boy, and we were happy living in this town. So many friends, my neighbors, and some of my Japanese friends also. And I really thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate all your friendship. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shigeko, for being such a wonderful friend and example. When the original housing of the International Friendship Mill deteriorated, it was located just behind this, and a new, more permanent structure was needed, Shigeko and her son Ram invited a friend of Ram's, an architect from Washington, D.C., to come to Oak Ridge and meet with the Citizens Advisory Committee that had been recruited to propose ideas for the structure and to raise funds to build it. That friend is Ziad Demian, a founding partner of Demian Wilbur Architects. His local, national, and international portfolio ranges from large-scale urban design projects to single-family and residential buildings. His architecture and planning studio believes in engaging in processes that yield places and products that touch people's lives deeply. Ziad has accomplished that in his design of the Peace Pavilion here in Oak Ridge. Ziad embraced not only this project, but our entire community from day one. And as I'm sure as you will recognize, Ziad put his heart and soul into this pavilion with every element of the design having very specific intent. Having had the pleasure to work closely with Ziad on this project, I know that the meaning and the significance of this bell, this site, and this project touched him deeply, and he in turn has touched our city deeply. Please join me in welcoming my good friend and honorary Oak Ridger, Ziad Demian, as he shares a few words about his vision for the Peace Pavilion.
Thank you, Alan. And I would like to take a turn in thanking Shigeko for giving birth to this. The idea to meet your husband, and thanks to Ron Jr. also for bringing me to the dance and giving me the opportunity to be part of this. So I appreciate it, and congratulations. Okay, so I have my cheat sheet here. I'm not checking my email. I'm reading some notes. It's hard to believe that 3 years have gone since the ribbon cutting ceremony took place, and 4 years since we broke ground. And I'm really delighted that now this Peace Pavilion is becoming part of the tradition of Oak Ridge. And here we are celebrating Peace Day, commemorating peace. And hopefully this is going to become an annual event. Hopefully at this spot, weather permitting. Some of you already know the story of how the design came about, and you're probably going to have to hear it again. And for those who haven't heard that story, I'll just walk you through the process. We, in our practice, we always ask 3 questions every time we have a project. We say, what are we doing? How are we going to do it? And then why? So the why is always a difficult question to answer. And this particular project was really difficult. So in retrospect, this was a story of a little bit of uneasiness and then also an awareness. So both. So there was like an interplay of apprehension and awe and an apprehension. Apprehension in both meaning of the words, that a little bit of uneasiness and fear, but also coming to understand and be aware of what is it that we are going to take on and design. So this led to the realization that the outcome of the design need to shift a little bit toward the sublime, without getting too philosophical about this. So it's not just about beautiful place, but sublime in a way that it facilitates respect and awe. So the physical forms and the thoughts and the aesthetic of this place needed to capture just enough, but perhaps not fully realize the quality of the greatness of the ideas behind this project and what this project represents, thanks to Shigeko and Ron and the whole belt community. So faced with that sense of responsibility to design something that inspire a bit of awe and then respect, and then imbued with symbolism, yet it needs to have an element of surprise, a little bit of discovery and delight that makes it mentally and physically accessible to everybody, to young Girl Scout and older adult. And that's a very difficult task. It's a big task, but then comes the Belt Committee. And along with their commemoration of the 50th anniversary and the wonderful theme that came out, Born of War, Living for Peace and Growing Through Science. This has provided the means for us to translate all these lofty thoughts into some physical form that we can actually feel and touch. So as an architect now, I'm speaking as an architect, but this is really a collaborative effort. And I'm going to be a little specific. So Alan, for advocating for this location. I know it was in the old location, and there was a reason for that. So you had a vision. Thanks for that vision and for advocating for this. Not only that, Alan brought experts from the laboratory, expert from the University of Tennessee, designers, lighting designers. You orchestrated all of this. So this is not just the design of Demian Wilbur Architects, it's the design of the committee. So Pat Postma also advocated for creating a sense of place for people to gather, gardens, linger, hang out, and she advocated for that. She was very specific about it. So what you're seeing is some of the ideas that Pat advocated for. Ray Smith, who's not here, I'm sorry, not going to get a chance to see him today. He helped me understand the community of Oak Ridge. He walked me around, went to the farmer's market, he took a tour, we ate, muscadines, everything that I'm not aware of. I don't know anything about the local culture. He introduced me to all of that. Mark Watkins and John Hetrick for bringing to bear all the resources of the city and help implement the project, along with Laura Patrick with first place finish, and all her contractors. And of course, all of that would not have been possible without Ron and his family and bringing me to the dance, like I said before, introducing me to this community, and constantly challenging me and asking me questions. Why are you doing this? Is this going to work? And keep pushing until the last minute when we actually cut the ribbon. It's like, yeah, that works. This is good. So with that, this is all to say that this is not just a design. We just help translate all these ideas, all these visions into the physical form that you see. So what I would like to do, now this is what brought this to what you see right now. To start with, to create the sense of place, we need to get a place for people to gather. So there's that. We needed to agree on certain things. There's a project like this and a monument like this always create conflicts and dissonance sometimes. So we needed to agree to something that everybody can agree to be the truth. So we're facing due north. So if we stand under the column, look this way, this is north. We all agree where north is. Okay, so that's one thing that was achieved. So if we are in the center of the plaza, this is the world, and we know the world is not perfect, and there was an existing path. So on purpose we took a chunk out of that perfect circle, just to say that yeah, the world is not perfect. We have a lot of work to do. We wanted the sense of permanence, and we wanted to have a structure that represent the strength of the community and the new relationship that is forged between Japan and the United States after the war. So it's something very strong, very powerful, that actually it inspires a little bit of awe. So how does this work? How do you support an 8 tons bell from a cantilever? So this is what brought this to bear, and this is how we kind of managed to explain that. So this was about the born of war. So the gardens, the plaza coming together is all about living for peace. So that's what kind of how that idea was represented. Growing through science was a lot of fun, and this is where Alan brought to bear all these resources and his friends and colleagues at the laboratory, and introduced us to people. We thought the future of Oak Ridge is not looking back, we're looking toward the future, and the future is of peace and technology and science and growth. And we thought this best be represented by introducing material and technology that hasn't been used before. So the trellis were the carbon fiber beam, and they've never been used like this before. These are the longest carbon fiber structure ever built. It's about 33 feet, 10 meters, and they're all cantilevered from a beam that is cantilevered from the concrete cantilever, which is cantilevered from the column. So this is almost like a tree. So you have the tree trunk comes up, and you have branches grow out of it, and branches grow from the branches. So the idea also of the message is such a powerful message. We wanted it to be expressed as a message that can, like a ripple effect, it spreads throughout the region, the country, and the world. And that's what you see, these kind of radial, the arcs coming out, and they actually continue to come out and create the gardens that you walk around. A couple other things that symbolizes symbolizes the relationship between here and the sister city of Naka, Japan, is the two discs here, the circles, located more or less where Oak Ridge in the world, Naka is in the world. They look like they're arbitrarily placed. They're somewhat arbitrary, but that's what they represent. And did I miss anything? I think this is it, right? Yeah, I think this is it. And of course, the dry garden. I'm gonna mispronounce it right now, so I'm gonna better look it up. Oops, that's a wrong phone. Okay. Yeah, Kare-sansui. The Kare-sansui, this is basically, we know what that means, and this is another way of engaging the community, so the community come and be engaged with the site, ring the bell, break the garden, and feel like this is part of it's a place for the community to engage in peace. So, I don't know if I don't know if I missed anything. There will be more work. This was envisioned that if you're coming from the parking lot, you will see the bell and the structure nestled around trees in the background. And if you are coming from the south, you will kind of meander through the walkway between the trees, and then you will discover the structure. So hopefully, this is obviously we're not finished, complete. There's a lot more work to be done with the landscaping. This is when it becomes fully realized. So hopefully this will happen. And I just want to say one thing about Oak Ridge before I wrap up, that I love this town. This is something very special about it. There's a lot of energy, literally and figuratively. And there's so much capacity for this to become a very, very special city. I hope that we'll continue this relationship, and I will definitely continue coming, spending time here and in the Smoky Mountain. Thank you.
Thank you, Ziad, and we are forever grateful for what you have created, taking all of our ideas and vision and turning it into something that is a beautiful gathering place for our community. Next element of our program, I'd like to invite the Girl Scouts to come forward to read Haiku for Peace, poems that they have composed for this International Day of Peace. And our Girl Scout leader, Jerry Luckman, will introduce the Scouts.
In honor of the International Day of Peace and our friendship with Japan, the Girl Scouts of Oak Ridge had a haiku writing contest. A haiku is an unrhymed form of poetry of Japanese origin. The haiku has 3 lines, containing usually 5, 7, and 5 syllables, respectively. Girl Scouts in Oak Ridge troops ranging in age from high school to kindergarten submitted haikus on the topics of peace, nature, and the International Friendship Bell. The haikus submitted were evaluated by high school English teachers. Outstanding haikus were selected to be read at this Day of Peace celebration. Each Girl Scout author will read her exceptional haiku.
Hello, my name is Scarlett Smith. I am a cadet in Troop 21158. This is my haiku. Girl Scouts gather around to celebrate World Peace Day. Friendship all around. My name is Karma Drummond. I am a brownie in troop 20115. The sun smiles brightly, bringing light for all to see, helping life to bloom. My mom helped me. Thank you.
My name is Anastasia Butterball. I am a brownie in troop 20115. The birds are chirping in the open green fields, a calm and happiness.
My name is Macy Cassidy. I am a brownie in 20115. Butterflies are neat in the large open forest, soaring in the sky.
My name is Danielle Ellis. I am a cadet from Troop 21158. As the dove flies high through the ringing of the bell, as peace surrounds us.
My name is Caitlin Mays. I am a cadet in Troop 21158. Peace rings throughout town. The bell clangs, spreading friendship. Doves fly high with peace.
Let's give them another round of applause. Girls, thank you so much. Those were beautiful poems and very inspirational. You're a great example for all of us. Reverend David Allred is the lead pastor of High Places Community Church, and he has a passion for bringing people together through honest conversations, building trust, and bridging divisions. Tonight, he will introduce the plan for an innovative new initiative called Periodic Tables, a program designed for sharing the elements of community, inviting participants to share stories and insights they've gained over the last year. It was scheduled to begin during the Secret City Festival, but due to pandemic issues, has unfortunately been delayed until 2022. Reverend Allred's church previously hosted supper gatherings planned for the Oak Ridge Ministerial Association based on the People's Supper to foster healthy conversation and closer ties between people of differing backgrounds, experiences, and core beliefs within our community. Please welcome my friend, Reverend David Allred.
So I don't know how you're supposed to follow a bunch of cute kids reading poetry. I mean, it just feels like a setup. That was so wonderful. Anything that I had to say can't possibly compare to you Girl Scouts. Thank you for that. And thank each of you for the opportunity to be here on this International Day of Peace. And it is a beautiful evening for which we're grateful. And this wonderful friendship bill that is here, all the craftsmanship that is displayed. And most of all, just an honor to be with each of you as Oak Ridge residents and neighbors. We're here to reflect on the gift of peace, and I do use that word gift intentionally. It's wonderful to have peace, and we're all truly thankful for the gift of peace that we enjoy. The end of the global conflict that was the Second World War. We're thankful for the peace that now exists between our two nations of Japan and America, but also even more specifically the peace that we enjoy as Oak Ridgers in this very community with Japan. It's a unique relationship for which we're grateful. I wanted to take a moment to discuss peace at home, and this is a scientific city, so we tend to like to explore the limits of physics and chemistry, and I was asked to do this within 5 minutes, so giving a preacher a microphone in 5 minutes is truly exploring the limits of physics and chemistry. But we are going to talk about peace at home here for just a moment. And by that I mean peace in our own community. Oak Ridge is a unique city in that we have so many global citizens who come to Oak Ridge to work. Some come for just a season, others come for longer. The international exposure that our city receives gives us incredible opportunities to model peace here at home, but also a peace that can be taken from here to every corner of the globe as the many people that visit us, interact with us, come to know our city, and hopefully take some of us with them as they return to their places of origin. Obtaining peace at home, peace in our communities, is perhaps as difficult now as it ever has been. We have divisions and disruptions that affect our everyday lives. as we're learning how to navigate social media and to navigate one another's posts on social media and interactions. We have incendiary politics in our country. We have incendiary political figures. We have a variety of hot button topics that sometimes pit us against each other and have us arguing issues of race or immigration or climate change or equal rights. And if that wasn't enough, thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic, we now have new labels to apply to one another, such as vaccinated or unvaccinated, masked or anti-mask. Whatever these labels may be, whatever these positions may be that we take on whatever controversial topic of the day might be, we're still human beings underneath, and we're still neighbors together. And the power to work through the differences that we have belongs to us. The power does not belong to the media. The power does not belong to our elected officials or our religious or academic institutions. The power belongs to each of us to choose peace with one another. We can choose to get along as neighbors. In World War II, we had to cross oceans to establish and build the new peace that we now enjoy. In 2021, we need only cross the street. And yet this can be so difficult, as we have seen all too often in what author Brené Brown calls bunkers of sameness. We tend to retreat into areas and into places with people who think and look just as we do. It can be hard to actually cross the street and meet our neighbor, because for many of us, our neighbor may have a different political sign in his or her yard, or our neighbor may belong to a different religious faith or religious institution. And so it's easier for us to find people who are just like us, who may be across town that we spend our time with. To truly experience peace in our hometown, we must emerge from our echo chambers and become neighbors with one another once again. And this is why I'm here today with a firm belief that we can do this. We can build a better Oak Ridge simply by spending time together. There's a movement for peace in our community called Periodic Tables. We operate with the core belief that each of us has a story to share, and we each know, regardless of our differences, what it feels like to actually be heard and to be valued and to be cherished for who we are. While we may not ever be able to solve all the world's problems, we can lend a caring heart and a listening ear to each other. We may disagree on how to accomplish certain goals, but we recognize that all of us share the same basic ideas for a safe and healthy and compassionate community. In science, the periodic table represents a list of independent elements that must form bonds in order for life to exist. Likewise, each of us in our diversity and our beauty create community when we make efforts to bond with one another. Periodic tables aims to create opportunities for Oak Ridge to gather around a table periodically. Do you see what we did there? We aim to get around a table, to share a meal, to share our stories and our experiences and perspectives, as differing as they may be, for the purpose of better understanding one another and building togetherness in Oak Ridge. Understanding and sharing are key components to building peace. This will help us build the kind of community we each want here in Oak Ridge. Unfortunately, because of the COVID surge in our community, our first event, which was scheduled for this next upcoming weekend, the last day of the Secret City Festival, had to be canceled. I'm going to rephrase that, not canceled, but postponed, because we are still here and we are not going away. We still believe that a shared meal and a good conversation is going to work just as well at the beginning of 2022 as it would have next week. After all, human beings have been coming together, sharing meals for thousands of years. Sharing a meal together is actually for thousands of years been a staple of building community around food and around storytelling. In the coming months, as the pandemic wanes, we will offer opportunities for Oak Ridgers to come together and share their stories and their experiences. Specifically, even around the pandemic, our nurses, our frontline healthcare workers, even right now as we sit here, are having incredible stressors placed upon them during this pandemic. We want to support them, give them space to share their story, let them know that they are heard and that they're loved. Allow them to share their stories of triumph and their stories of pain during the COVID distancing we've had. Our teachers, too, have worked very hard to try to provide our students with a good education. They've tried to do this virtually and at a distance with much stress to them, and our students themselves have experienced a great amount of stress during the time of social distancing. Some in our community lost loved ones who were denied opportunities to have funerary rites to honor the one they loved, even ones they loved who didn't die of COVID that were not allowed to do these funerary rites and gatherings. The point is that we're all different. All of us have different stories coming out of the pandemic. Like elements on the periodic table, each of our stories is different. But when we exercise our power to come together, we build things such as peace and togetherness. While we may not be able to gather this weekend around the table, and trust me, my heart breaks for that, we are coming back. You can visit our website, oakridgeperiodictables.com, if you want to read more about the mission and vision that we're putting forward for the community. But keep in mind, you do not have to wait on us. You can start today by inviting your neighbor right across the street for a meal. Toss a salad, cook a hamburger. Start building peace in our hometown right now by spending time and sharing stories with one another as neighbors the best we can and at every opportunity, because when we do this, we will work and grow together, and we can model for the world what peace truly looks like here in Oak Ridge. And as international visitors come and spend a time, they can take that peace with them around the world. Thank you.
David, thank you for giving us a lot to think about, and we will look forward to periodically gathering around the table and having many good conversations, and thanks for all you do to bring people together in our community. I want to mention one thing that Ziad referenced a few moments ago is the garden to my left. So in another contribution locally to this Day of Peace, our volunteer gardeners have raked a peace design into the gravel at the Karasansui Garden. And Karasansui is a dry landscape garden. It's a tradition in Japan, and it features artistic designs raked in fine gravel around carefully placed boulders. So the Oak Ridge Garden that you see here is one of 14 such gardens featured today in a video on the website of the North American Japanese Garden Association, and you can find that at najga.org, and its inaugural Gardens for Peace program. So before you leave tonight, as you explore all the elements of the Peace Pavilion, please make sure that you visit the garden as well. So I'm going to end my portion here in just a moment, and let me just say on a personal note, I'm very honored to be part of this celebration, to be able to have a small part in this. What a wonderful community we have. I'm so thankful for the city of Oak Ridge and for all of you friends and neighbors, and let's, as David said, build a peaceful community together. Transitioning now to the musical portion of